Hello. Welcome. My name is Kat. Today let's talk about some tattoo stuff. So I have two tattoos on my body, both of which are kind of dedicated to Lady Gaga. Just a die-hard little monster Lady Gaga stan. I'll never get over it. So let's talk about my first tattoo. It is a small script on my lower back. It's not quite a tramp stamp, but it might as well be because it's like just slightly off to the side. I got the idea probably from a magazine article or something. I remember being in college and I think that I was probably 21. It's really hazy. I was stoned and drunk a lot in college, so I barely remember. I got the idea from a magazine article that I was reading that was either with Lady Gaga or talking about Lady Gaga. I can't remember, but I do remember the phrase joie de vivre coming up. And I googled it and it means the joy of living in French. Please pardon my terrible, terrible pronunciation of that phrase. I know absolutely zero French at all. And so don't really know how to pronounce it. Just goes to show you the type of choices that a 21-year-old makes when it comes to putting things permanently on their body. Nonetheless, I loved the phrase, and at the time I was really embracing that ideology. I was really trying to be joyful in my life. Not that I was truly joyful. I think I was covering up a lot of sadness and pain and things like that, but that's a story for a whole another time. The phrase, the joy of living, meant to me at the time being completely alive and being happy that you're alive. So I guess for me, that was enough, and I hauled off and booked an appointment at, I think, Black Orchid Tattoo in Savannah, Georgia. So I believe I got the tattoo around St. Patrick's Day in 2011. My three best friends from college at the time, we drove down to Savannah and stayed with my family to go to the St. Patrick's Day parade. My little sister also at the time booked an appointment at a different tattoo parlor so that she could get kind of a similar tattoo. We were getting like sister tattoos, like matching tattoos, even though they're different phrases and being done by different people. So I believe she got La vie est belle or something like that. Life is beautiful. I am so ashamed that I can't remember this. Kids, don't do drugs, okay? Just don't do them. It's not worth it. Needless to say, the day comes for my tattoo appointment, and what did I do? Get real stoned. I think I paid like 80 bucks and I gave her like a $20 tip or something. I barely remember that day. I do remember going to the actual tattoo parlor, and it was like in an old Victorian home that had been turned into a tattoo parlor. I remember having to like lean over and grab my knees basically so that my back was exposed so that she could do it. And to me, the sensation of that tattoo felt like a purposeful cat scratch, right? So if you've ever been scratched by a cat, it just is this burning, stinging sensation. And that's what it felt like, was just a very intentional little cat claw scratching me in the shape of the text that I had chosen. And she told me not to touch it, not to scratch it when it itched. I did end up accidentally just kind of reaching back and absent-mindedly scratching it one day, and I kind of was like, oh no, and looked under my nails, and I had some ink under my nails, so I do have a little bit of a spot that probably needs to be touched up, but I will never do it because it's not in a place where I see it, so I don't care if it's a little messed up or not. But yeah, I don't remember anything about the healing process. I don't remember what I did. I don't remember if it hurt at all. It was so long ago. I mean, it was literally almost 10 years ago, but that was my first tattoo. Now, the story of how I got this big tattoo is a little more involved. I've always wanted a big tribute piece to Lady Gaga because her music really shaped the decade that was my 20s. The Born This Way album in particular, every single song on that album meant something to me, and her ideology of embracing who you are, embracing the darkness that might be there. When she was producing the album, or around the time that the album was being created, she got a tattoo of a unicorn on her thigh, and it had a banner going around it that said "Born This Way." And I always knew that I wanted it to be a knockoff of her unicorn tattoo, but instead of the banner saying "Born This Way," I wanted the banner to say "Marry the Night," because the intro track in Lady Gaga's album Born This Way, the intro track is called "Marry the Night," and the theme basically of that song is that you're embracing a difficult time and you're gonna make a really good situation come out of it. Pretty much. It's my life anthem, and it gives me a lot of strength and a lot of encouragement and hope, and it helps me to persevere. So I knew I wanted to do that, and at the time that I was planning this tattoo, which was probably winter 2017, is when I started thinking hard about when I was going to get my next tattoo. I got on Instagram and started looking at tattoo artists that were in the Atlanta area. I found this one artist named Blaine Bias, I think is how you say her last name. I really like how her tattoo style has kind of this fusion between sort of an old school retro type of tattoo, but also a new school coloring and stuff. I really don't know much about tattoos in general and tattoo style. I just knew that I really liked the look of hers. It's like old meets new. So I had my artist that I kept my eyes on for months while I started saving money for the tattoo. Now at Starbucks, every week you get tips, and these tips are in cash. So every week I would come home with my tip money and put it in a little container that said tattoo fund on it or something. So after, gosh, I think 6 or 7 months, along with the random cash tip that I'd get driving for Lyft at the time, I had about $500 or $600. I was really excited and ready to get this tattoo. So I called her, made my appointment, made a deposit, which I think at the time was $200. And at the time, she quoted me on the phone that she thinks that my piece was gonna be around $575 or something like that. Now, whether or not this is expensive in terms of tattoo pricing or not, I have no idea. But for me, to pay the price that the artist that I love charges was important. The artist sets their fee based upon whatever it might be, their years of experience, the time that they've been training in art in general, or the competitive pricing of other tattoo artists in the area. I think that a tattoo artist is sort of the expert in that way. I'm not a tattoo artist, and I didn't really question the price because that's not what I was there for. I wanted the style that was done by that person. It wasn't just about getting a tattoo, because I could have gone down the street and gotten some shitty tattoo for $200. It wasn't about the actual tattoo. It was about the style and the art and the person whose art I was supporting. I specifically knew I wanted a female tattoo artist because the tattoo field is so heavily male dominated. I also had a female tattoo artist for my first tattoo. Sadly, I do not remember her name. I don't remember a lot about that time period in my life. I will say with my first tattoo, her touch, or her pressure, I guess, was very light, and so it didn't really hurt very much. When my sister got her tattoo, which was by this big burly dude with like a bald head and like tattoos on his fucking head, she like yelled through half of it, like, ow, ow! Also, speaking about the pain of the tattoo, I knew that it would hurt. I knew going into it that it was gonna hurt, whether or not I had a female artist who has a lighter touch or a male artist who might have more of a heavy hand. I knew that it was gonna hurt. And in my mind, because I knew I wanted to give birth at some point and have kids, and I wanted to do a natural birth as much as possible, in my mind I set up getting a tattoo as kind of like a test for my pain threshold, that like if I can't get a tattoo, then I probably won't be able to handle natural childbirth. We'll talk about both of those things later on. Fast forward to October of 2018, and I think my appointment was set for like the 4th or something like that. I was so excited. I took the day off from work. So the day comes, my appointment I think is at 1, and I get up and I'm kind of running late. So I rushed to Starbucks and got a venti iced latte with almond milk, I think. Looking back, I wish I hadn't done that, because I think the caffeine added to the anxiety I was feeling. I was really kind of stressed out and like nervous about the whole thing. So I really was hyped, okay? I was very high energy, very hyped up for this whole process. I park and I get to the studio, which is called Stygian Gallery, and it's an art gallery that has art that has more of a dark sort of style. Everything had kind of a creepy, twisted, tattoo influence type of style, but there's art all over the walls. And I meet Blaine, and she's this short, cute little thing, and she's got tattoos all over her, and she's very soft-spoken and cool. We fill out the paperwork, she tells me what I can expect, and then I see the art piece for the first time. The way that Blaine works with her tattoo process, or did at the time, was that we discuss the art piece over the phone, and she gets an idea of what I want, then she goes back and draws it, and I don't actually see it until the day of the tattoo. She said in the past she'd had problems sending examples back and forth, and that people would then take the example that she sent and go get it done by somebody else for a cheaper price, which is like so shitty. Like, why would you do that? I never saw what I was getting on my body until a few moments before we sat down and did it. So I was really nervous, didn't know if I was gonna like it, but thankfully she pulls out the art, she shows it to me, and I fucking loved it. So she printed it off on the thingy that they stick to you or whatever, and we sat in the chair. Now, on the day of, I brought a bunch of snacks and apple juice and things like that because I am a fainter. In the past, when I've gotten blood drawn or had shots, I have passed out. I don't know if it is because of the needle and the pain, or if it's because of my stress causing me to kind of overload and just pass out, but I have experienced that in the past. So I was fearful that that might happen in this experience as well. I made sure to let her know that I was a fainter, and she was like, that's totally fine. If you feel like you're gonna pass out, we'll stop and you can take a breath, and if you need to have a snack or something, you're gonna go in the back of the shop because it's not sanitary for you to have food out here in the chair. So I said, okay, that's fine, let's get started. So she pulls out the gun, it starts. In the past, when I've had shots done or have had blood drawn, I made sure to chat a lot with whoever was in the room with me because it kind of takes my mind off of it. And in this open tattoo space that we were in, there was 3 dudes being tattooed and then me and Blaine. And so I was the only person just chatterboxing, but I had to let go of whatever shame I might have felt about that, because at the time I was like, I'm gonna stop myself from passing out, I need to. So, and she started to tattoo me, and the pain was a shock. It definitely was a lot more intense than I thought it was gonna be. She started with some of this darker, heavier line work. I think especially the outer edge here, this black lines, I think is what she started with. And it hurt really bad. It sort of took my breath at first, and as she dragged the needle down through my skin, it hurt bad. But I tried to and just take a deep breath and keep talking to her and not focus on the pain. But unfortunately, that didn't really help. And I started to feel myself pass out. Now, what that feels like for me is I go kind of cold and clammy, a little shaky, and I start to feel very, very lightheaded. And before I know it, I'm waking up. I told her at the time, I'm not feeling so good. I think I'm gonna pass out. And she said, no, you're not. You're not gonna pass out. let's just take a rest. So she stopped tattooing me, and then I passed out. So when I came to, the receptionist, the girl who signed me in the front and helped me fill out paperwork in the front of the studio, she had come with some maple syrup, and they were kind of fanning me. I had broken out in a cold sweat, just like drenched, and felt really, really sick. So Blaine was like, come on, let's get you a snack. Come on to the back of the parlor or whatever. So I went. They had like a bar that was kind of a wooden bar that nailed into the wall or whatever. So I put my snacks up there, and I just kind of stood there for a little while, and we talked, and she was like, take as much time as you need. It's gonna be okay. You can do this. Eat your snacks, drink your juice, take your time, and when you feel better, come on in, and I'll just finish setting up your colors while you're back here. And I was like, okay, thank you. So sitting back there eating my granola bar and drinking the apple juice, I really doubted if I was going to be able to stick it out. I truly, honestly was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can deal with the pain. I don't think I'm going to be able to sit there and stay conscious while she tattoos me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. And even if I didn't get the rest of the tattoo, I still would owe her for that time slot. And if I didn't let her finish, I was gonna have some random lines of tattoo on my arm for the rest of my life as a reminder that I chickened out on getting a big tattoo. So as I sat back there contemplating life and death, I sort of rallied myself and packed myself with 3 or 4 granola bars. I drank both of the little round apple juice bottles, and I drank a ton of water, and I was like, I'm gonna give this the good old college try, and I'm gonna suck it up and go in there, and I'm gonna get this fucking tattoo. So I went back in. I still felt a little shaky, but I told her, let's go, let's try it again. So I started clenching and unclenching my left hand, which is something that I had done before whenever I gotten blood drawn, and it really seemed to help. So I sat down, she put my arm in the thing, and she started tattooing me again. And it hurt the same, but it almost didn't feel quite as intense for whatever reason. I think that my stress at the time elevated to such a point where I needed to pass out to come back down to some level of, I guess, homeostasis within myself. And then when she started tattooing me again, the pain wasn't as acute because I wasn't as anxious about the process, I think, anyway. So she starts tattooing me again, and I got that same feeling of lightheadedness, a little clamminess, a little achiness in my knees and feet, and I said, hang on, we need to pause. I think I'm gonna pass out again. So we paused, took a breath, we chatted about her style and crystals or something, I think, and then I felt a little better, and she started up again. And once she started back again, she didn't stop until the tattoo was finished, because I was able to, from that point, focus and relax and just allow myself to be absorbed in the sensation of what was happening and the conversation we were having. So the sensation changed from being a sharp pain to more of that cat scratch feeling that I talked about with my first tattoo. And it was much easier to endure, especially the part where she was shading and filling in all the color, where it weaves in and fades into all the different colors. That actually did not hurt nearly as bad as the line work that she set up in the beginning. And I had read that a lot of people feel like the shading and the final parts where you're going over the same place multiple times hurts the worst, but for me it just felt like sort of scratching a sunburn with your fingernail over and over. That's what it felt like for me. In the end, I was able to sit and get a giant ass tattoo, and I felt so fucking good about it because I stepped myself up, I rallied, I overcame that intense physical sensation and the emotions that went with it, and I kind of felt like it was a transformative experience. So how would I compare that to labor and childbirth? Well, actually, I think the tattoo was worse. Having contractions and laboring, to me, was not that bad because although it is an intense feeling, they come in waves. It'll be there for a minute and then it goes away for a few minutes, and then it comes back for a minute and then goes away again for a few more minutes. So that makes it bearable. And when you're in labor, you kind of go into a zone, so you don't truly feel every single contraction that comes because you go into a trance and you deal with it. And so I don't truly remember at least half of my labor with Aura. Anyway, that is my tattoo story. Now, I do want to say that the healing process for this tattoo, she put the big sticky thing on it, which I kept on for like a day, I think, and I washed it with lavender Dr. Bronner's, and I just put coconut oil on it. So I didn't buy any of those expensive tattoo care soaps and sprays and balms and stuff like that. I just used some store-bought natural products, and I think it healed pretty well. It did feel weird, like a stingy sort of like a bad sunburn for a while as it was healing. Also, the itchiness was just like when a sunburn is healing. You have to kind of just pat it when it itches, and that sucks. Would I recommend getting a tattoo? I think everybody should, to be honest. Even if it's something small in a hidden place where nobody can see it but you, I think everybody should do it because it's cool. I thought to myself, what if I don't like this tattoo in a few years? It's permanently on my body for the rest of my life. And one of my friends from college told me, what you need to see the tattoo as is a mark from a time in your life, and it's a physical memory. It's a thing that you did at that time, and it should only be seen as what it is in regards to that. So there you go, I guess, perspective. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of my community. I hope you will subscribe. I hope you will give this video a thumbs up. And I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye. Does anybody remember that song? Tat, 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 tat it up. Okay, I'm done now.